most common mistakes people make when trying to build wealth that you've noticed, or you can just say like currently this is what people like?
Yes. Many people are jumping into the stock market without realizing what they're doing. They think everybody can trade, but no, trading is a skill, just like anything else, just like civil engineering, just like what you do here, John. Trading is a skill. You know, it takes time. And so a lot of people are losing money. And also NFTs, you don't just jump into those things without doing research and following,
Yeah.
Yes, so people are losing a lot of money on that. A lot of
Crypto as well.
Yes, cryptocurrency, yes. People are losing a lot of money on that. You need to be, in as much as you have a high appetite for risk, you also need to be very careful in what you invest in, Yeah.
I guess it's one of those things you can... I know people... I think the biggest problem now is like everybody wants everything super fast.
Yes.
I know the economy is hard, but everybody wants everything like just...
Yes.
Now, I want it now. I want it now. I want to put money here today.
Yes,
and
the like PUP generation, we call it.
When you go to crypto, stock market, and what else have you mentioned? Like, it's so
NFTs,
volatile, NFTs, because today it's this price.
Yes.
On Monday you wake up, it's dove in like, dove down like to 50%.
Yes.
And that's crazy.
And
you can
it's
only
really
imagine.
Bad.
Even psychologically, how it...
People lose everything.
I know a lot of people who've lost, like quite a lot, because that's what their plan was.
Yeah.
They wanted to put money there and they wanted to double it in a week. 2x, 3x, at 100x in 1 week. So I'm like, one person might be lucky, but there might be 98% of people who like just...
Yeah, who lose their money. They lose everything, their livelihoods, everything.
And also it's like interesting because those are some of the things that you've mentioned. They're like, I think those are called like the high risk investments.
Yes.
High risk investment.
Yes.
They can reward you, but they can also like wipe you clean.
Yes.
But I'm just wondering because like, the government also like just talked about introducing tax on, I think, crypto and NFTs.
Yes.
It was on their priority list. But their strategy was, their percentage markup was how much? Was it 3%?
3%.
I mean, what's your thought on that?
I don't think it's viable because it fluctuates so much. I don't think they will get too much when it comes to that. Yeah.
And even how do you track NFTs
It's very
and
hard to track.
crypto?
Yeah.
To tax somebody, how do you do that?
Well, it's actually very...
I think it needs a really intelligent system,
yes,
which might take a really long time to develop, like especially in Kenya, because so
they don't tax it anywhere because it's very hard to track. You know? It's almost impossible.
It's almost impossible.
Yes.
But if you're out there, it's just something that maybe you can just study before you get into it, because at least the government is aware of it. And they're just trying to figure out how they can, because everybody says like, if there's a loophole somewhere where you can just create wealth as well.
You do it.
You do it because,
you need to be very cautious.
Very. Because the same way we've said, you can lose everything as well.
Yes.
And which you just might. Chances are very high. You might. You might lose a lot. So high risk investments, don't chase them like, with that whole thing in mind, like I want everything now. So what else would you say you've seen people like make mistakes with? Because I also have to go back to what our parents used to do back in the days. Their strategies were slightly different.
Yes.
Like, you get maybe a tender, you get your check from your client or whatever institution has paid you, have millions of shillings.
And splurge?
No, even not splurge. Do you go buy land? Do you make a building? Because all those to me are slightly old school strategies. I wouldn't do that personally, but I would just want to know from like a financial point of view and expertise.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that still works currently? Like buying land? building and just buying like a big house. Are those strategies that are good, or like how personally I look at them and I'm like, no, this is a mistake. I don't think this is a good way of building wealth?
Yeah, well, that's very old school. When you get some money, you go purchase land, you go build an apartment building. That's very old school. But the thing is that it still works. It still works. But it works for a certain period of time, you know, especially if you're going to get money and buy an apartment or build an apartment. It does take a lot it takes a lot out of you. Let's just say when it comes to about when you build an apartment in about 5 years, you have to go back and check up on it and renovate. And if you want to get in with the times, if you want people to live in your building, you know, it consumes a lot of capital. Yes.
And your time.
And time. Yeah.
So now, because I also just to paint this in like a more practical picture, let's say you have, let's go with a number that's easy to just do division with. Let's say you have 10 million, right?
Yeah.
Because we have like a lot of maybe townhouses, apartments, maybe like in Kilimanis and all these like upper areas where you can, I think roughly would be 8 to 10 there, but let's work with like 10 million, right? You can get a townhouse somewhere, a big townhouse, depending on where you're buying it for 10 million, right?
Yeah.
Why would you buy, what would be your reason for buying like a townhouse as an investment that you've talked about? Like now you have to supervise, make sure everything is good, get a tenant,
you know. Being a liability.
And before you finish even this whole period of building, construction, getting permits and everything before somebody moves in, it might take probably a year, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you have the same 10 million, you go with my way.
Bonds.
They just go straight to bonds, which like the government has already done. Like, let's say they did you catch like the 15.8. Yes. Let's just call it 16%. That means you're already making around 160 monthly. From that day you put that money in, maybe from the next month, depending on how, like I've talked about how I strategize I balance out all my bonds.
Yeah.
So you can just kind of split them and
you can basically run your life.
Yeah. And you're just okay, yeah. So why would you go for a house instead of just something like this that's already? Because you're giving the government the money so that they're the financial planners now. Yeah. They're paying you. First of all, they're borrowing money from you.
They're borrowing money from you, yeah.
You're a boss already. You're employing the government.
Yes.
If it's infrastructural bonds, tax-free.
Tax-free,
so why? I just want to understand, why would somebody go for a house? Because to me, it sounds like a liability.
It's the thought. It is a thought of the generation, you know. It's all a mindset, you know, and this was like the best way to invest for a certain type of age group, you know.
Yeah.
But now what we are realizing in this field is that for the younger people, they do not even want to purchase a house. They don't even want to live alone in a house. They want to share.
Yeah.
You know, things have changed. A lot has changed.
Yeah.
Though I do understand their mindset. They're like, okay, fine, this is an investment because if I live here, my children live here, my children's children live here, you know. They don't need to spend this sort of money on rent. You know, I could sell it later and it could take care of my retirement. You know, they look at it in that way. They do not, and they actually find it very difficult to look at it as when you buy bonds, it's an asset for you, you know. They're not assets. Those are papers, you know.
In fact, even let me tell you an even better one. If you need to liquidate bonds, you can do that anytime you want.
Yes.
If you want to offset a house,
it could take you up to 2 years.
Especially if it's in distress. Let's say you have an emergency and you do want to dispose that house.
Yes.
You've said 2 years is not time. It's not enough time for an emergency.
It actually is too long.
Yeah.
It'll be too little, too late.
Yeah, what happens now? That's an emergency. You're supposed to actually fix something, or somebody is in distress, and this is not a wealth building strategy that I'm talking about. Like you go and wait until somebody's in distress, and that's where you walk in.
Buy their property.
yeah. I know. But in some cases, even institutions do that. Institutions do that. That's why, like, if you need a loan, they'll be like, okay, what assets do you have?
Yes.
Come with them. Let's do the paperwork. This is collateral. In case you don't pay, hey.
Yeah.
It's all good.
We'll confiscate your house.
Yeah. So what's wrong with an individual doing that if institutions, that's where they're doing it legally?
Well.
So that can be another strategy. But this is just like, last resort. I'm not saying that's what people should do.
But people do it.
People do it.
Yes.
Yeah. We do paperwork, collateral, loan people money, and,
Yes.
It's an easy way of getting a car, a house,
Very easy.
A lot of.
Or you could just practice delayed gratification.
Yes.
Save up.
No, true.
Get your assets debt-free.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, you get them at a discount when you give money. If you give cash, you get an asset at a discount. Yes.
Oh, not true. But also, go back to bonds again. Go back to bonds again. I know I'm a strong believer of bonds here.
Yes, you're a strong bond believer.
If you hold bonds, you need a car. You have like that. We'll go back to that 10M.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Very, very easy.
Very easy. And, your asset basically can just support you in so many different ways.
Yes.
Because the dividends are coming in.
Yes.
All you'll need to do is cut down a bit on your lifestyle, depending on how you've, strategized your expenses. The car will be paid for. And I think that's why in most developed countries, they have almost compulsory credit system. Because there are some places, in some countries, you don't buy cash.
You can't buy cash.
Yeah, you can't go I have X amount of millions, I want to buy this house. They'll be like,
that's fraud.
Yeah. We need to know your credit score.
Yeah.
Have you been spending your money and everything? But like I've said, also now in our country, it's completely different.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have money, you can just show up with and buy whatever you want.